Well, hello, I'm Gill Fielding, and this is what's caught my eye in the media this week. Well, over the last week to 10 days, we've had huge amounts of financial uncertainty. We've had galloping inflation figures, increasing base rates from the Bank of England, and it's no wonder that a lot of people are feeling frightened and fearful about their financial future and their money. But there is some hope on the horizon. And there's a new mortgage provider called Molo Finance that's actually going to be providing mortgages for between 15 to 40 years. So if you're the type of person that likes financial certainty and you want to know what your mortgage is going to be basically until you retire, then they might be an option for you. Now, most of us get a fixed rate mortgage for a couple of years at the start of a mortgage, and then it moves on to a variable rate. So that's my circumstance. So I'm expecting loads of letters to be dropping through the letterbox in the next week or so, telling me that my mortgage monthly payment is about to go up. And I take that on board because it's part of my investment strategy and I have a contingency to account for it. So I'm okay with it. And I can cope with uncertainty, but not everybody can. And if you want certainty, then there is certainty in mortgage products available, as I say, through people like Molo Finance. And that gives you knowledge and awareness, and that's what we all need with financial products, knowing what's coming up. There are some disadvantages to it. Of course, you're stuck with it for 15 years or so, and it is partly portable. But if that's you and you think that fits your personality type and your risk profile, then have a look at them and see whether that's the right product for you. Well, I know intuitively, as most people do, that actually buying your own home is better financially than renting. And now figures out from the Halifax this week have proved most conclusively that you are better off by buying a property than you are by renting. And what they did is they took all the costs of buying a property, including costs of funding and funding the deposit as well. So they took the whole costs on board, and they've worked out that actually buying a property is £115 per month cheaper than renting. And of course, what they haven't been able to take account of in that calculation is the future projected growth of the property concerned. So it's now official. Buying is better than renting, and I'm really grateful that the Halifax has gone to all the time and trouble to calculate a figure that we all know intuitively is right. So buy your own. Now, the other thing I read about this week was ISA Millionaires. It's ISA season, that's individual savings account, and you get an ISA allowance every year. And I've just read that there are over 2,000 people that already have over £1 million in their ISA. And the top 60 have an ISA with an average value of 6.2 million. Wow, that's an amazing, amazing stat. Now, I'm not a huge fan of ISAs generally, but what they do prove is that if you invest constantly, regularly, consistently over time, the amount of money does grow into some whopping figure eventually. So all of these ISA millionaires have been using their full ISA allowance every year for the last 20 or 30 years. At the moment, it's 20,000, but it's been a lot less than that in the past. And they've invested it in stocks and shares, and eventually it's grown into a big figure. So I just want to say and give a shout out for the slow and steady approach to wealth creation. In today's society, we like the flashy, instant, immediate gratification type of investment structure, like Bitcoin, for example. But actually, the slow and steady tortoise will eventually win the race. And by investing regularly, smaller amounts, if that's all you have, over a long period of time, will turn into a big figure with absolute certainty eventually. So start today. Finally, I just wanted to talk a little bit about leasehold properties. As you know, I'm into property investment, and lots of people get confused about the difference between leasehold and freehold and whether you should or should not invest in a leasehold property. Well, there's lots of opinions out there, from a leasehold is a great investment to the leasehold is the worst possible investment. And I just say a leasehold is pretty much the same as a freehold, as long as you take account of two significant things. First of all, a leasehold will have a length of time, will have a life length, a life term. And in the good old days, in the dark ages, they used to be like 999 years. Nowadays, they tend to be 99 years or something similar, 125 years. And that's okay. But what happens is time quickly passes and the leasehold then has, say, 75 years left. And you'll find that finance providers, mortgage providers, won't like that. What the mortgage providers want to see is at least 2 mortgage lives left in the lease. So if a mortgage life is, say, 25, 30 years, they want to see 60, 70 years left in the lease. And in order to be really safe, I'd be hopefully looking at 75 to 80 years left in the lease. And when you're negotiating the purchase of a leasehold property, actually include that in your negotiation offer and ask for the freeholder to extend the lease out to 99 years or 125 years if you can get it. Now, if the lease freeholder won't do that, you can still get the lease extended and you have certain rights there as an owner. And if you want to find out the approximate cost of a leasehold extension, we'll go on to the Leasehold Advisory Service, and that's lease-advice.org, lease-advice.org, and they will guide you through a rough calculation of what a lease extension will cost. And then you can build that cost into your financial figures, your cost of investment, and so on. The second thing to be aware of course, if it's a leasehold, there will be a payment somehow to the freeholder as a management charge, or there might be service costs in addition to a management company. Again, that's no big deal in and of itself, as long as you account for that in your monthly cash flow and the return on your cash invested when you're looking at the investment proposal. So leaseholds are neither good nor bad, as long as you take account of the two differences. They're just different, as most properties are. Just make sure you're covering all the costs and understand exactly what's going on. And a leasehold is just as good or as bad as any other investment. Well, I hope you keep safe, and I'll see you again next week.